Hey, wow. I have no idea what happened to the day. It's like Monday. Um, I think it's Monday the 20th. Is it 20th, 21st? 21st of January. Holy Toledo. And maybe I'm gonna blame everything on the full moon last night. But the day flew by, and we normally read around noon from this book. This is the book called Letting Go, and it's a written by our friend Dr. David Hawkins, and Hawkins is an amazing author, and but it's uh, if you're interested in what we call consciousness, this book is a pathway to consciousness. It says pathway to surrender, and that's true. But what happens is that Hawkins lets us know what it is that we're surrendering. You know, he gives us a language, and he has a scale, and he measures the different vibrational level of you know of emotions, and so we've read already. We read about the lower emotions, apathy and depression, and we read about the anatomy of emotions, and then we read about grief, and then we read about fear, and now we're in chapter 7, and we're going to read about desire. Desire. It's interesting. Well, I won't tell you what he's going to say. I'll read it, and but desire. Wow, it's interesting. The desire actually keeps us away from the things that we want. It doesn't bring us to it, but our mental, our minds kind of trick us, thinking that we have to desire something for it to happen. And you gotta want it. Well, we're going to talk about that. And maybe it isn't that you gotta want it. Maybe you gotta let go of wanting it. So here we go. Dr. David Hawkins. If you don't have a copy of this book, you can. There'll be a link. You can order it from us. Also, people have been asking me about the books that I've read, and I've put together a book list. Well, actually, Earl put it together, but I picked them out. I've got a bookshelf where I've kept a lot of the books that I love, and I put together a book list, and you can order through us if you like some of the books that I've read and that I love, um, yeah. Okay. So chapter 7, desire. Uh, this emotion may range from a mild wanting to an obsessive driven craving for something or someone. It is also expressed as greed, obsession, hunger, envy, jealousy, clinging, hoarding, ruthlessness, fixation, frenzy, exaggeration, overambition, selfishness, lust, possessiveness, control, glamorization, insatiability, and acquisitiveness, never satisfied, never enough, must have. The underlying quality of this emotion is its drivenness. When we are in the effect of desire, we are no longer free. Wow. We are controlled by it, run by it, enslaved, and led about by the nose by it. Here again, the essential point of freedom is whether we have chosen consciously to fulfill a certain want, or whether we are just being blindly run by an unconscious program and belief system. Desire. Cafe Bino, my favorite. Desire is as an obstacle. There's often a lack of understanding of the function of wanting and desire. The main illusion is seen in the statement. The only way in this statement, what I'm about to read, the only way that I'll get what I want is by desiring it. If I let go of my desire, then I won't get what I want. Actually, the opposite is true. Just what I just said. Desire, especially strong desire, i.e., cravingness, frequently blocks our getting what we want. Why is that so? Why is this so? Well, actually, the way something comes into our lives is because we have chosen it. It has the result. It was the result of our intention, or we made a decision for it, it has come into our life in spite of desire. Imagine. The desiring was actually the obstacle to its achievement or acquisition. This is because desire literally means I do not have. I do not have. In other words, if we say that we desire something, we are saying that it isn't ours. When we say that it isn't ours, we put a psychic distance between ourselves and what we want. Imagine. This distance becomes the obstacle that consumes energy. The impossible becomes possible as soon as we are totally surrendered. Gosh. This is because wanting blocks receiving it and results in a fear of not getting it. The energy of desire is, in essence, a denial that what we want is ours for the asking. I'm going to read that again. The impossible becomes possible as soon as we are totally surrendered. This is because wanting blocks receiving it and results in a fear of not getting it. The energy of desire is, in essence, a denial that what we want is ours for the asking. This is a different way of looking at achieving goals than the one you are used to from the programming of our world. We're used to picturing ambition and success as being associated with hard work and the classic Protestant ethic virtues. This includes self-sacrifice, asceticism. Damn, Hawkins, you write some big words. Asceticism. Asceticism. Great expenditure of effort and endeavor, keeping our nose to the grindstone, tightening our belt, buckling down, and all the grimness of hard work. Then we look at this whole picture. When we look at this whole picture, it sounds arduous, doesn't it? Arduous, doesn't it? Well, it is. It involves struggle, and the struggle results. Would that help if I put that on? Could you guys hear me? We forgot to mic me. Is anybody watching? Yeah. Should I start over, or could you hear me? Yeah. Earl says it's fine. What do you say?
I can hear you.
You can hear me in there. Earl could hear me in the other room. Okay. Okay. Why is this so? Actually, the way something comes into our life is because we have chosen it. It was the result of our intention, or we made a decision for it. It has come into our life in spite of desire. The desiring was actually the obstacle to its achievement or acquisition. This is because desire literally means I do not have. In other words, if we say that we desire something, we're saying it isn't ours. Well, I read that already. And we put a psychic distance between ourselves and what we want. This distance becomes the obstacle that consumes energy. The impossible becomes possible as soon as we are totally surrendered. This is because wanting blocks receiving it and results in a fear and not getting it. The energy of desire is, in essence, a denial that what we want is ours for the asking. Powerful. This is a different way of looking at achieving goals than the one we are used to from our programming of our world. We're used to picturing ambition and success as being associated with hard work and the classic Protestant ethic virtues. This includes self-sacrifice, asceticism, great expenditure of effort and endeavor, keeping our nose to the grindstone, tightening our belt, buckling down, and all the grimness of hard work. When we look at this whole picture, it sounds arduous, doesn't it? Well, it is. It involves struggle, and the struggle results from the block we have put in our way because of desire. Let's compare the arduous lower consciousness way of achieving goals, the arduous lower consciousness way of achieving goals, with the higher state of consciousness in which we have acknowledged and let go of the desire. in which we have acknowledged and let go of the desire and are in a freer state. In a freer state, that which is chosen, manifests in our life effortlessly. We surrender the emotion of desire and instead merely choose the goal, picture it lovingly, and allow it to happen because we see it as already ours. Damn, damn. Um, I think I have a little bit to learn around this. This is amazing, And reading it to you guys really drives it home for me. Why is it already ours? In the lower state of consciousness, the universe is seen as a negative and denying and frustrating and reluctant. It's like a bad, stingy parent. In the higher state of consciousness, our experience of the universe changes. Now becomes like a giving, loving, unconditionally proving parent who wants us to have everything we want, and it is ours for the asking. This is creating a different context. It is giving the universe a different meaning. Wow. Earl, you should be listening to this. This is really powerful. I want, this is the whole deal. It's amazing. Although the world may be stingy and hostile to other people, there is no reason why we should buy into this paradigm. When we buy into it, we make it that way in our life. As we experience the letting go of desires, we begin to see that what we have chosen will come into our life almost magically. Imagine the magic. I love it. Almost magically. What we hold in our mind tends to manifest. As was said before, during times of supposed high unemployment, some people are not only employed, but have 2 or 3 jobs. This was a shocking new way of looking at the world when it was first encountered. There was the hope that it was true, but also a skepticism that said, this just isn't possible on a pragmatic level. A strict Protestant ethic background made it hard to believe. Nevertheless, the willingness was there to be open-minded enough to give it a try. Here was the initial experience of letting go of desire. Here was the initial experience of letting go of desire. So I think he's speaking about his own experience of letting go of desire. Personal goals were written down, followed by a letting go of the desire for them. It sounds paradoxical, but that is the process. Identify the goals and then let go of wanting them. Ta-da! One goal that has been held in the mind for several years was an apartment in New York City because work commitments required a lot of commuting and money spent on hotel rooms. A small apartment in the city, a so-called pied-à-terre, would be an economic solution. Apartment in New York City was written down as a goal. When utilizing this way of achieving goals, we include all of the details. Details, Earl. I like that. We include all the details. We just spend some more time on details, don't we? Just writing them down. Not in the how-to, but in what it all looks like. So we're creating a vision too. There's 3 of us now, and even I think 4 if we include Marlon. He's the unknowing, but he's here. So we're creating this vision of helping people create meditation spaces in their homes, and my vision is thousands and thousands of people having our cool meditation stools in their homes, and so I see it happening, and I see us lifting the vibration of the planet one meditator at a time, and eventually what I see is a meditation space in the West just being a standard. It's just a standard, just like, well, where's your meditation space, or come and let's sit in our meditation space or our sacred space when you go to visit friends, and it's the room that's like the special room, the special corner in the room, and I see it. That's my vision, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, I'm excited about it because I think maybe I've been wanting it too much. But anyway, he talks about the apartment in New York City was written down as a goal. Then utilizing this way of achieving goals to include all the details, as impossible as they may seem to the radical mind to achieve. So the ideal apartment was detailed, reasonably priced on Fifth Avenue in the 70s block, right next to the entrance to the Grand to Central Park, at least 8 or 9 floors up in the rear, so that the street noise would be minimized and not any bigger than about 2.5 rooms. Wow. The next day at work, it was busy as usual. And with a big caseload, meetings and patients and patient visits. In between the meetings and patients, the feeling of wantingness for the apartment would be acknowledged and let go. And as the day progressed, the apartment was actually forgotten. By 4:30 p.m., after the last patient, there was suddenly an impulse to drive into the city, despite the fact that it was ostensibly rush hour. The road was clear and the drive took only half an hour. The car cruised to about 73rd and Lexington, pulled up to the nearest real estate office. Rather magically, there happened to be a parking spot open right in front of the real estate office. The real estate officer, upon hearing the tongue in cheek announcement that an apartment on Fifth Avenue was desired, looked with surprise and said, "Well, you're certainly in luck. Exactly 1 hour ago, we listed the only apartment for rent in all Fifth Avenue on 76th Street on the ninth floor. It's the rear apartment, about 2.5 rooms, and the rent is reasonable, rent controlled at $500 at that time." So this must have been probably a while ago. It just been painted and you can move in anytime. So we walked over and viewed the apartment. It fit the description of the goal exactly. The lease was signed on the spot. Thus, within 24 hours of tying the letting go technique, trying the letting go technique on a specific personal goal, the goal was a reality. It had been something that had almost impossible that was almost impossible to find, yet it happened exactly as pictured, effortlessly, with no negative emotions. It was an easy and joyous experience. Wow. So one of the things as we're doing this, one of the goals that I put out recently is we need to raise some capital, and I don't know how that's going to happen, but I see that it's happening. We are going to, because I've ordered another 2,000 of these stools, and we're doing a marketing campaign and all that kind of stuff. So that's part of the so I'm just letting go of that. Just letting go. It's done. Capital is, I know exactly what we need right now. Earl, do you know what we need? Okay, good. And I don't even know if we should say need. Let's say, do you know the capital that we need, that that is needed for this is coming in. So it's not that we need it, it's just coming. Uh, this is not an unusual experience, but a typical one, because in this case, the desire was moderate and could, without much effort, be totally surrendered. But being totally surrendered, this means that it was okay if the apartment happened, and it was okay if it didn't. Because of being totally surrendered, the impossible became possible, manifesting itself effortlessly and rapidly. We can all we can all doubt this mechanism and look back at things that we wanted that were achieved through ambition, desire, and craving, and even obsession and frenzied wanting. The mind says, well, what if I had let go of the desire for those things? If it weren't for the desire, how would I have gotten them? The truth is, we could have gotten them anyway, only without anxiety, fear of not getting, without all the energy expenditure, without all the effort, without all the trial and error, without all the hard work. Well, the mind says, if you get it effortlessly, how about the pride of achievement? Wouldn't we have to sacrifice that? Well, yes, we would have to relinquish the vanity of all that sacrifice and hard work that we put into it. We would have to give up the sentimentality about the self-sacrifice and all the pain and suffering we went through to achieve our goals. Uh, this is a peculiar perversion in our society, isn't it? If we suddenly became successful without almost effortlessly, then people are envious. It really annoys them that we didn't have to go through all kinds of anguish, pain, and suffering and get there. Their mind believes that such anguish is the cost that must be paid for success. Holy shit. Mm, wow. Just to let you know, we're reading from Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins, and you can click a link and get one of these books for yourself. They're amazing. All we have to do is to let go. So, are you listening? Have you been? Yeah. Yeah. Damn. We might have to read this chapter a lot, maybe, or we could just let go. Okay. The mind believes that such anguish, the cost must be paid for success. Okay, let's look at this belief. If it weren't for the negative programming that made us believe ourselves otherwise, it weren't for the negative program that made us believe otherwise, why should we go through any cost of pain and suffering to achieve anything in our lives? Isn't it rather a sadistic view of the world and the universe? Maybe, yes. Other blocks to the achievement of our wants and desires, of course, are unconscious guilt and smallness. Uh, peculiarly, the unconscious, the unconscious will allow us to have only what we think we deserve. Okay, that's that's interesting, isn't it? What we think we deserve. The more we hang on to our negativity and the small image, uh, small self-image that results, the less we think we deserve, and we unconsciously deny ourselves the abundance that flows so easily to others. That is the reason for the saying, the poor get poorer and the rich get richer. If we have a small view of ourselves, then what we deserve is poverty. And our unconscious will see to it that we have that actually. As we relinquish our smallness and revalidate our own inner innocence, as we relinquish our smallness and revalidate our own inner innocence, as we let go of the resisting our generosity, openness, trust, and lovingness and faith, then the unconscious will automatically start arranging life circumstances so that abundance begins to flow into our lives. You guys, I'm going to read that paragraph again. That's, I think that's the clue. That's one of the clues in a big piece here for me. Um, okay, the poor get poor and the rich get richer. If we have a small view of ourselves, let's imagine that some of us do, then what we desire is poverty. What we deserve is poverty. And our unconscious will see to it that we get that actually. As we relinquish our smallness and revalidate our own inner innocence, and as we let go of resisting our generosity and openness and trust and lovingness and faith, then the unconscious will automatically start arranging all life circumstance so that abundance begins to flow into our lives. Nice, eh? Ding, honestly. Yeah. I got to get the little bell here. I do. I want a bell. Give me a bell. Okay. Page 112. Having, doing, being. You know, who'd have thought that this book would be about, you know, it's so cool, the depth that goes into. Okay, having, doing, being. As we free ourselves, oh, thank you. Wow. Awesome. As we free ourselves out of the lower states of consciousness, such as apathy and fear, we come into wantingness. Uh, what was formerly an I can't and impossible now becomes possible. And the general progression of the level of the general progression of levels of consciousness as we go from the lowest to the highest is to move from havingness to doingness to beingness. At lower levels of consciousness is what we have that counts. It is what we have that we want. It is what we have that we want. It is what we have that we value. It is what we have that gives us a self-image of worth and position in the world. Isn't that interesting? I was just watching a little video last night where a fellow that I follow online, Frank Kern, actually, was showing us how he bought this great big house And I could see it was so clear that as the years have gone by, he's got this great big house, and it really doesn't mean anything to him anymore. It was really important at one time to have this house and show his success, and drive around the Rolls Royce and all that kind of stuff. And I think that he's moved from having to doing and being. And we move up the deal. And I think that certainly happened to me when I talk about um, one particular thing is that most of my life I always wanted to have a Harley Davidson. I've had Harleys, lots of them, but whenever I didn't have one, I really wanted one, and now I still have. I've had a Harley for years, and I have no attachment to it. Like I've really let go of the having, and anyway, it's kind of fun that when that disappears, and well, here we go. Get back to this. So yeah, what we have is kind of what we build around our self-image is built around what we have when we're living in the having. Once we have proven to ourselves that we can have, that our basic needs can be fulfilled, um, that we have the power to provide for our own needs and those of others who are dependent on us, the mind begins to become more interested in what we can do. So it's talking a bit about Maslow, like the hierarchies and from survival and moving up to. Then we move to a different social set in which what we do in the world is the basis of our value on how we rate ourselves. As we move up to lovingness, our doing is less and less preoccupied with self-service and becomes more and more orientated to being of service to others. And that's Project Awakening. And as our consciousness grows, we see that service, which is lovingly orientated towards others, automatically results in the fulfillment of our own needs. This does not mean sacrifice. Service is not sacrifice. Eventually, we become convinced that our own needs are automatically filled by the universe, and our actions become almost automatically loving. There we go. I like that. Um, at this point, it is no longer what we do in the world, but what we are that counts. We have proven to ourselves that we can have what we want, that we can do almost anything given the willingness. And now what we are within ourselves and to others becomes more important. People now seek our company, not because of what we have, not because of what we do and society's labels, but because of what we have become, because of the quality of our presence. People just want to be around us and experience us. Our social description changes. We are no longer the person who has the fashionable apartment or the big car or the bric-a-brac collection. Bric-a-brac? Bric-a-brac? I don't know. See, I know what that is, but I think it's a big deal. Some collection. Nor are we labeled as the president of the so-and-so corporation or the member of the board of directors of some organization. Now we're described as a splendid person, as somebody whom people just want to meet, just have to meet, just have to know. We become described as a charismatic person. I've got two charismatic people here, Earl and Kat. Imagine. Um, fun. The level of beingness is typical of self-help groups. This level of beingness is typical of self-help groups. In self-help groups, no one is interested in what others do in the world or what they have. They're only interested in whether or not they have achieved certain inner goals, such as those of honesty, openness, sharingness, lovingness, willingness to help, humility, genuineness, and awareness. They are interested in our quality of beingness. And I know from reading a lot of his Hawkins stuff, he's often talking about the 12-step recovery groups. He's a big, he often talks about. So, and those are the things there that make a difference, for sure. So the next part of this is glamour. So we're in desire. We talked about desire as an obstacle. We talked about having, doing, being. And now the next subtitle is glamour. Glamour is a very useful subject to understand. Once we understand it, it greatly facilitates the letting go of desire. The book called Glamour, A World Problem, written in 1950 by Alice Bailey, presents the whole subject expertly. Uh, if we look at something, if we look at something that we want, we can begin to distinguish between the thing itself versus the aura or the patina, the flash, the attractive magnetic effect of a quality that we can best be described as glamour. It is this disparity between what a thing is in itself and the glamour that we have attached to it, which leads to disillusionment. So often we have chased some goal, and then when we have achieved it, we're disappointed. That is because the thing itself does not uh, cons- uh, coincide with our pictures of it. Glamour means that we have attached sentimentality, or we have made it bigger than life. We have projected onto a thing a magical quality that somehow leads us to believe that once we acquire it, we will magically achieve some higher state of happiness or significance. Imagine. I can relate to that. Can you relate to that? Mm-hmm. This happens very often with vocational goals. The man works year after year striving to become president of the company or become important and prominent in some other way. Then he gets there and he expects to achieve all the satisfaction and the glamour associated with that level of achievement. The kowtowing to employees, the flashy car, or the kowtowing by employees, the flashy cars, the prominent office, the label, the titles, the exclusive address. But what he finds is that all of these things are superficial. They are very inadequate compensation for the agonizing energy drain and daily grind that in reality the position necessitates. While he pictured that he would get admiration, what he often finds at the top levels is viciousness, competitiveness, envy, endless fawning, and dishonest manipulation that occurs to people in power, including the paranoid attacks by competitors. He finds that his energy is so drained that he has no energy left over for his personal life. His relationships are impaired. His wife complains that he's too exhausted to make love, while too depleted to give her the energy she needs, too worn out to be a good father, and too tired even to enjoy a favorite recreational activity. Wow. Same thing occurs with women on a traditionally feminine area of achievement. So he's a bit patriarchal. He's a bit of old school guy, but we love him. A woman thinks, for instance, if she gets a certain designer dress for a party, can you imagine? Um, that the dress is going to bring her attention, adoration, and admiration, and that it will win her a certain social status. Uh, with this sacrifice, she spends a great deal of money and effort on the dress, running back and forth for fittings. Uh, but what happens at the dinner party? There are a few passing comments on her dress. That's the end of it. Nobody dances with her any more than usual. She's not more prominent than she was before the party. No more genuine attention is paid to her than previously. She gets some hostile, envious looks from other women who recognize that she probably paid a lot for the dress. And during the evening, she has an unusual argument. She has the usual argument with her escort, and they go home in the car, barely speaking to each other, the same as in the past. Damn, dress didn't work. As women make gains in the corporate and political arenas, they face a disappointment that companies longed for glamorous leadership roles in the public. What was predicated, predicted to enhance prestige and esteem instead brings criticism, envy, and hostility, even from other women. The experience of achieving their goal is often not what they thought it was going to be. It is an endless judgment of the woman's public persona and dress. And she may have the gnawing feeling of inner worry that she has failed her family by going for the professional fulfillment, winning is sometimes not as liberating as glamour would want us to believe. Emotional goals are also glamorized by semen, se, semen, sentimentality, and emotionalism. A certain excitement is projected onto an emotional event, i.e., a reunion, a first date, or being elected president of one's class. It is made to seem more important than it really is in the overall course of events. After the event passes, life goes on the same and disappointment ensues. Glamorization, of course, is starkly obvious in the advertising. In advertising, here we see it. Sieur Generis. Damn, he's always using Latin. Latin. Suigeneris. Sieur Generis. Sieur Generis. The cowboy. Okay, he's going to describe advertising. The cowboy is the glamorization of masculinity, and the ballet dancer is a glamorization of femininity. Men are attracted by personality, not the brand. Men are attracted by personality, not the brand. Thus, the cowboy, representing the glamorized male, who is rugged, cool, suave, and in control, the consumer projects onto the product that will give him that desired personality traits. Glamorization is living in a at a fantasized level. Isn't that interesting? Therefore, when we proceed to let go of a desire, we must dissect away that which is exaggeration, fantasy, and romanticization. Once we have relinquished the glamour, it will be relatively easy to surrender the desire itself. If we let go of the romanticization of the cowboy, for example, then the cigarette or the cheeseburger that he was handling in the commercial will lose its appeal. In fact, much to our surprise, we will find over and over again that the desire was attached to the glamorization fantasy. There was no reality in it. There was no reality in it in the first place. Because there was no reality in it, the world is constantly selling us dishonestly, catering to our desire for that romantic, glamorized aspect. It promises to make us more important than we really are. Glamour at that level of dishonesty is a fake. The mind protests. Are you out of here, Marlon? Yeah. Okay, buddy. Thanks so much. Do you want to work tomorrow? Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. Business. Um, where was I? The mind protests. Do I have to give up all that glamorization excitement? Do I have to let go of my pictures of emotional gratification and excitement? The answer is obviously no. We don't have to give them up at all. We can achieve the goals effortlessly and easily once we are conscious of what we are choosing. We can have them directly. We can have we can have them directly. We can be attractive, and we can be attractive, but we won't get it in a fake way, such as driving a certain style of car. We can be attractive, but we won't get it in a fake way, such as driving a certain style of car. We will get in by letting go of our smallness and owning our greatness. Oh, letting go of our smallness and owning our greatness, thereby reflecting it out into the world, owning our greatness and reflecting it out into the world. We can easily become that exciting persona whom people are eager to know. Just choose to be that person and let go of the block of desiring to be that way. We can have what we want directly without detouring through some fraudulent promise that will lead us into frustration and disappointment. The way to become that exciting persona whom people want to know is very easy. We simply picture the kind of person we want to be and surrender all the negative feelings and blocks that prevent us from being that. What happens then is that all we need to do is all we need to have and do and to do will automatically fall into place. This is because In contrast to having and doing, the level of being has the most power and energy. When it is given priority, it automatically integrates and organizes one's activities. This mechanism is advanced in the common experience, evidenced in the common experience. What we hold in mind tends to manifest. So we're well over halfway through the chapter on desire, and or page 118, and I think that we're going to break for today. Yeah, we're about 11 pages. That's what I'm doing is probably 10 or 11 pages a day, and so we're going to break for today. Love you guys. Tomorrow we start with the power of inner decision, which sounds pretty cool. And I thank you so much. I love doing this, and I hope that somebody gets some value out of it. I hope that you do. I am, and I think we are, and so that's it. We love you, and we're in a few minutes here. We're gonna have our meditation group starts at 6:30 today, and I'm supposed to mention that we have meditation stuff. So just thought I'd throw that in. You can go online. These stools are amazing. They're so cool. They're cool stools. And it's the one thing that's come up about it is that you almost need to sit in it to really get it. And so the deal is, if you order one of these online and it gets to your house and you sit in it and you don't fall in love with it, I'll pay the return shipping and give you back all your dough, 100%. So anyway, I love them, and my vision is like hundreds of thousands of these in people's homes. So I hope you can be part of that vision. And I think if you have one of these in your home, you're going to meditate. And if you're going to meditate, then you're going to become more conscious of who you are. And life can be happy, joyous, and free. Meditation is the beginning, I think. Maybe it's the end too. Okay, love you guys. Cheers, and we'll talk tomorrow. I think who we interviewing tomorrow? We can't talk about it? Okay, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to do another little bit. I think Girls got me doing something else on that in a bit. Okay, love you guys, and we'll talk tomorrow. Cheers. Bye.